Hi Raju, how are you today? What's new on your side?
Michael, let me tell you a fascinating story of coincidences and just being at the right place at the right time. This was in Berlin in March of 2019. I was attending the International Myositis Conference and I had heard an excellent talk on the use of JAK inhibitors in the idiopathic inflammatory myopathies. So it just filed it away in the back of my mind. Within weeks of return, I saw this child. He was 17 years old. His age of onset of disease was approximately 5.5 years. His CMAS on arrival was 11, and he had ulcerated lesions on his face, arms, back, lipoatrophy, calcinosis with oozing pus, and he had received every conceivable drug before coming to us. You name the class of drugs, he had received it. Having heard this talk on JAK inhibitors, we informed the parents. It took us about a month or two to convince them. And in January of 2020, we started tofacitinib. The magic that followed was something to be seen, to be believed. At his last visit to us, his CMAS was full. His skin ulcers had completely healed. His steroid dose from 40 mg at first visit was down to 2.5 mg. And after a 3.5 year follow up, we transitioned him. And this really, increased our remarkable faith in this group of drugs. Would you agree, Michael, that a lot has changed since then regarding Jackie in the pediatric age group?
I partially agree, Raju. It's a promising drug, as you have shown with your case, that is very helpful in severe patients where classical therapies failed. And it's also a medication in tablets, which is much easier for children. But there are still unresolved issues, so I would currently not use it as a first choice medication.
Absolutely, I agree with that. But how often have you used it or heard your colleagues using it in Europe, even if it is off label? And for what indications? Are you aware of any trials in the pediatric age group?
So we have used it in a couple of cases, again for severe cases with some success. I know that our French colleagues, especially from Paris Necker, are using it for dermatomyositis, and there is currently a trial on this drug. And when I looked through the literature, I found two review articles citing on JAKi in pediatrics. And for pediatric rheumatology and especially juvenile idiopathic arthritis, there are two RCTs showing efficacy of baricitinib in one and tofacitinib in the other one in JIA. And there is also a phase 3 trial using the Bayesian design that investigated baricitinib versus adalimumab in GIA uveitis. And here again, it confirmed the efficacy of baricitinib. On your side, besides the JDM you cited, what have been your cases?
Michael, if you speak to dermatologists, vitiligo and alopecia in their books are very, very established indications. I have used it, therefore, in these indications in a few cases, and subsequently encouraged by the use in my this patient of JDM. I've had two or three patients with refractory JDM and calcinosis who have been MDA5 positive. I have used it in two children with hereditary C1q deficiency, of whom one responded very well, the other has shown a partial response. And I have read about its use in morphia, uveitis, ulcerative colitis, STAT1 gain of function, SPENCD, and TREX1, but have not used it in these situations. Tell me, Michael, currently what are the European or FDA guidelines and approvals?
So, since March 2020, there is an approval for JIA both from FDA and EMA, so USA and Europe, from the age of 2. But in Switzerland, we don't have approval for children, only after the age of 18. And we had recently some black box coming out because of side effects from class of drugs, especially in adults.
I see. And what are the side effects that people are worried about?
So, mainly infections like for other immunosuppressive drugs, viral infections are worrisome, and also cardiac events and thromboembolism, hepatotoxicity, and that is something what I have seen also in one case treated where we had to stop medication, and it's also the problem of long-term malignancy. And since we are treating children, this is a big issue when we don't know on the long run if we will induce something bad for the life of our patients.
You know what you have said, Michael, has really sung a warning bell in my mind because there is a little disturbing trend in India. What has happened is these drugs are available orally. Currently, some companies are also manufacturing liquid forms. Their cost has decreased very, very rapidly, and these are making, therefore, very rapid inroads into countries where biologicals are either not available or very costly. And with the warnings that you cited, I look at this as little bit of a dangerous trend, or because we are seeming to get into uncharted territory. And I therefore strongly think that, you know, a large number of trials and studies on the not only the efficacy but the safety of these drugs would be necessary in the near term.
I totally agree with you, Raju, and especially we need some post-marketing studies using data in particular from registries to be sure that we really are safe and efficacious on the long run.
Very true. And you and I know that negative studies are never published, and it's very difficult to enroll children with very rare diseases. So, this is going to be a little while before these drugs get true, real authentication. Till then, I would say we should use with great caution and not follow a kind of a cowboy approach just because they are the new kids on the block. Michael,
Okay.
let me end with a story. I was very keen on finding out how these drugs got their name. And to start with, they were called just another kinase. And they belong to the family of tyrosine kinases. And they actually function at the gateway of cells, and therefore their designation of JAKs as Janus kinases comes after the mythical two-faced Roman god of doorways, and this accurately portrays their role at the gateway of these cells while they modify cellular functions. So I thought I would end on this rather interesting note and look forward to seeing you next Friday.
Thank you very much, Raju. It was again very stimulating. Have a nice weekend. Bye bye.
Bye bye.